What if I told you that everything you've been taught about power is a lie? That the meek don't inherit the earth, and nice guys don't just finish last. They get completely destroyed? Today, I'm going to share with you the most brutal truths about power that Niccolò Machiavelli discovered 500 years ago. Truths so dark, so effective, that they've shaped empires, toppled governments, and created legends. But here's the thing. Most people can't handle these lessons. They're too comfortable living in their bubble of moral superiority while getting walked over by those who understand how the world really works. I need to warn you right now. What you're about to learn will change how you see everyone around you. Your boss, your friends, even your family. Because once you understand these principles, you'll start noticing them everywhere. You'll see the invisible chess game being played around you every single day. And you'll realize that while you've been playing checkers, everyone else has been playing chess.
Niccolò Machiavelli wasn't some evil mastermind sitting in a dark castle plotting world domination.
He was a political advisor in Renaissance Italy who witnessed the rise and fall of princes, the destruction of cities, and the brutal reality of human nature when power is at stake. He saw good men get crushed and ruthless leaders prosper. And from this chaos, he extracted the most honest analysis of power ever written. But society doesn't want you to know these truths. They want you docile, predictable, and easy to control. They teach you to be fair, to play by the rules, to trust others. Meanwhile, those in power are using Machiavelli's playbook to stay on top while you struggle to get ahead. Let me start with the first dark truth that will make your stomach turn. Machiavelli discovered that fear is infinitely more reliable than love. Think about it. Love is conditional, temporary, and based on what you can provide. But fear is permanent. Fear ensures loyalty even when love fades. This isn't about being a tyrant or a bully. It's about understanding that respect without fear is just admiration, and admiration doesn't protect you when times get tough. Look at any successful leader, any powerful figure, any person who commands respect.
Underneath all the charm and charisma, there is always an element of fear.
The fear of disappointing them, the fear of crossing them, the fear of losing their approval. They don't rule through terror, but through the quiet understanding that there are consequences for betrayal. I've seen this play out in corporate boardrooms where the nicest managers get their ideas stolen and their teams poached, while the ones who command that subtle fear of disappointment keep their best people and get promoted. It's uncomfortable, but it's reality. The second lesson will shatter your faith in human goodness. Machiavelli observed that most people are fundamentally selfish and will betray you the moment it serves their interests. He didn't say this to be cynical. He said it because he watched it happen over and over again. Friends who became enemies overnight when money was involved. Allies who switched sides when they smelled weakness.
Loyal servants who sold secrets for a better position.
But here's where it gets interesting. Machiavelli didn't say you should become like them. He said you should expect them to be like this and plan accordingly. Never give anyone the power to destroy you completely. Always have backup plans. Always assume that people will act in their own self-interest, and you'll never be disappointed. This doesn't mean becoming paranoid or distrustful of everyone. It means being smart about vulnerability. It means understanding that people's loyalty has limits, and those limits are usually defined by their personal gain or survival. The third dark truth is perhaps the most controversial. Machiavelli argued that sometimes you must do evil to achieve good. He called this the dirty hands problem. If you're trying to protect 1,000 innocent people, but the only way to do it is to sacrifice 10 guilty ones, what do? Most people would rather preserve their moral purity and let the 1,000 die than dirty their hands saving them. But real leaders, people with real power, make the hard choices. They carry the weight of decisions that others are too weak to make. They understand that in a world where evil people exist, good people must sometimes use their methods to stop them. This isn't about becoming evil yourself. It's about understanding that moral absolutism is a luxury that those in power can't afford. Think about the CEO who has to fire 100 employees to save the company and the remaining 1,000 jobs. Think about the parent who has to be the bad guy to protect their child. Think about the doctor who has to deliver devastating news. Power often requires making choices that feel wrong but serve a greater good. Here's where most people get Machiavelli completely wrong. They think he was teaching people to be evil, but he was actually teaching good people how to be effective in an evil world. He understood that if you want to create positive change, you need to understand how power actually works, not how you wish it worked. The fourth lesson is about timing and perception. Machiavelli discovered that it's better to be feared at first and loved later, than to be loved at first and feared later. When you start from a position of being feared or respected, you can gradually show kindness and mercy, and people will be grateful. But if you start soft and then try to get tough later, people will see you as weak and resent any attempt to assert authority. This is why new managers often fail when they try to be everyone's friend from day one. They lose respect immediately and can never get it back. The smart ones establish their competence and boundaries first, then show their human side once their position is secure. But here's the genius part. Once you understand these dark truths, you also understand how to defend against them. You can spot the manipulators before they strike. You can see through false friendships and political games. You become immune to the very tactics that destroy other people. The fifth dark truth is about the illusion of choice. Machiavelli understood that the most effective way to control people isn't to force them to do what you want. It's to make them think they chose it themselves.
True power is invisible.
It shapes the environment so that people naturally move in the direction you want them to go. This happens everywhere around you. The store layout that guides you past high-margin items. The meeting agenda that leads to a predetermined conclusion. The social pressure that makes rebellion seem unreasonable. The most powerful people don't give orders. They create circumstances where their desired outcome becomes the obvious choice. And this brings us to perhaps the most disturbing truth of all. Machiavelli realized that most people don't actually want freedom or power. They want the security of being led by someone stronger than them. They want to believe that someone else is in control, making the hard decisions, bearing the responsibility. True leadership isn't about dominating people. It's about giving them what they actually want while achieving your objectives. Look at social media, look at politics, look at any group dynamic. People gravitate towards strong personalities who project confidence and direction. They don't want to think for themselves about complex issues. They want someone to tell them what to believe, what to buy, what to support. The uncomfortable truth is that most people are followers by nature, and they're grateful for competent leadership even if it limits their choices. But here's what separates ethical leaders from tyrants. Ethical leaders use this understanding to create genuine value for their followers. They take on the burden of difficult decisions so others don't have to. They use their power to protect and elevate those who trust them. Tyrants use the same understanding purely for personal gain. The sixth lesson is about reputation and perception management.
Machiavelli knew that reality matters less than perception.
People don't judge you based on who you actually are. They judge you based on the stories they tell themselves about who you are. And these stories are built from tiny moments, random encounters, and second-hand information. This means that managing your reputation isn't vanity, it's survival. One small mistake can destroy decades of good work if it's the wrong kind of mistake at the wrong time. But one well-timed act of generosity or courage can create a reputation that opens doors for years. The key is understanding that different audiences need different versions of your reputation. Your competitors need to see you as formidable. Your allies need to see you as loyal. Your team needs to see you as competent. Your family needs to see you as caring. These aren't different personalities. They're different facets of the same person, emphasized appropriately for each relationship. Now, let me share the most practical dark truth that you can start using immediately. Machiavelli discovered that information is the ultimate currency of power. Not money, not connections, not even talent, information. Knowing what others don't know, or knowing it earlier than they do, gives you an insurmountable advantage. But here's the twist. The most valuable information isn't facts and data. It's understanding people's motivations, fears, desires, and weaknesses. When you truly understand what drives someone, you can predict their behavior, influence their decisions, and position yourself advantageously in any interaction. This doesn't mean spying on people or manipulating them maliciously. It means paying attention to what people tell you about themselves through their actions, their priorities, their reactions under pressure. Most people reveal everything about themselves if you just listen carefully enough. The seventh and perhaps most important lesson is about the loneliness of power. Machiavelli understood that true power is isolating. The higher you climb, the fewer people you can trust completely. The more responsibility you have, the more you have to keep your own counsel. The stronger you become, the more people will either want to use you or destroy you. This isolation isn't a bug. It's a feature. It forces you to develop inner strength, independent judgment, and emotional resilience. It teaches you to value the few relationships that can survive the pressure of your success. It makes you appreciate genuine loyalty when you find it. But the isolation also serves another purpose. It prevents you from becoming too attached to others' opinions, too dependent on external validation, too influenced by group thinking. When you're truly comfortable with solitude, you can make decisions based on principles rather than popularity. Here's what nobody tells you about implementing these lessons.
Start small.
Don't try to become Machiavelli overnight.
Begin by simply observing the power dynamics around you.
Notice who really makes the decisions in your workplace, your family, your social circle. Notice who gets their way without seeming to fight for it. Notice who people naturally defer to and why. Then start experimenting with small changes. Speak less and listen more. Information flows toward listeners, not talkers. Set clear boundaries and stick to them. Respect flows toward consistency, not flexibility. Take on responsibilities that others avoid. Power flows toward those who handle what others won't. But remember the most important part of Machiavelli's teaching: power without purpose is just destruction. These lessons aren't about dominating others for your own ego. They're about becoming effective enough to create positive change in a world that resists it. They're about building the strength to protect what matters to you and the wisdom to use that strength responsibly. The uncomfortable truth is that we live in a Machiavellian world whether we acknowledge it or not. Politicians use these principles. Corporations use these principles. Even your friends and family use some of these principles, consciously or unconsciously. The question isn't whether you'll encounter these dynamics. The question is whether you'll understand them well enough to navigate them successfully.
So here's my challenge to you.
Take one of these principles and spend the next week observing how it plays out in your daily life. Don't judge it as good or evil. Just notice it. See how fear and love interact in your relationships. Watch how information flows in your workplace. Observe how reputation affects opportunities. Notice how people respond to strength versus weakness. Because once you start seeing these patterns, you can never unsee them. And once you understand how power really works, you can never again claim to be a victim of forces beyond your control. You'll realize that every interaction is a choice, every relationship is a negotiation, and every situation contains opportunities for those wise enough to see them. The question isn't whether you're ready for this kind of power. The question is whether you're brave enough to see the world as it really is and strong enough to succeed in it anyway.